It was in Villa Diodati, a dwelling near to Geneva in 1816, also called 1800 and Frost to Death, where Mary Shelley got her inspiration to write Frankenstein or The Mother Prometheus, which became a timeless masterpiece and inspired several adaptations. During these very rainy days, Mary Shelley, her husband Percy Shelley, and Lord Byron had been seduced by German ghost stories and has spoken a lot about galvanism, Galvani's theory about an electric current produced by the brain and propagated by the nerves. Indeed, they decided to have a competition writing horror stories. Mary had a dream that inspired the genesis of Frankenstein, and as she went back to England, she started to write an epistolary novel made of 3 acts and 24 chapters. Within this literary technique, the author is able to use the first-person point of view and to easily let many narrators speak from their very personal perspective. That also happened by using many flashbacks, which means to create the effect of reading a lot of stories into the main story. That talks about Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who claims that during his university studies he focused on corpses decomposition in order to understand the beginning of life, and he found out a method to animate the inert matter and to create a body made of human remains and brought to life by an electric shock. The creator is so horrible that his creator runs away, leaving the monster all alone. He's completely lonely, and because of his condition, he starts a terrible revenge against Victor and his family, while frightening whoever sees him. The main themes of the work, that was published anonymously in 1818, are many and deep, so that it's very hard to bestow it a narrative category. It is gothic, horror, science fiction, psychological and thriller, but also romantic. The book subtitled The Mother Prometheus is very strong, and it refers to the classical mind of the rebel titan who tried to fight the gods that created him, but also to Ovidius Prometheus, who take part of the creation, shaping the human beings by the clay. It's all about the disobedience to your own creator, the same way Frankenstein's creator wished revenge towards his father, who forsaken and abandoned him, just like Lucifer in Lost Paradise by Milton. As a matter of fact, the epigraph in the very beginning of the book claims, "Did I request thee, maker, from my clay to move me man? Did I solicit thee from darkness to promote me?" underlining his loneliness and misery that made him a cruel murderer, even if he was born good and innocent with an openness to life. He changed because of the prejudice, the social unfairness, the scorn and hate of his own father and of the other human beings. Just because of his awful appearance, because he is different and unknown. So Rousseau would say that he changed it because of society. On the other hand, there's this God complex. There's a man who wanted to hog nature's role and to create a life he cannot stand for, that scares him, and the consequences are his self-destruction and then his death. That shows a feeling to apprehension about scientific progress and technology, about the responsibilities of science and the edges it needs to respect, about how dangerous it can be for the human beings to influence nature. These kind of questions are very typical of these ages, and they stay very modern as we keep questioning about bioethics or about genetic modification. This narrative being that up to date and Frankenstein's creator staying so fixed in people's mind, it exists an impressive number of movie, television, theatrical adaptations, and so on. One of the most popular movies born out of Mary Shelley's work is Young Frankenstein, a parody that was achieved by Mel Brooks, the director, and Gene Wilder, the screenwriter. It became a great blockbuster and won an Oscar, as it is a masterpiece in direction and scenography. The director claims that they were working on Blazing Saddles when Gene Wilder came out with the idea of a new Frankenstein during a coffee break, and he answered, "Not another. We have the son of, the cousin of, the brother-in-law. We don't need another Frankenstein." But Wilder's idea was very simple. What if the grandson of Dr. Frankenstein wanted nothing to do with the family whatsoever? He was ashamed of those wackos. So he thought, "That's funny," and he agreed to direct the movie. The Young Frankenstein was shot in black and white in order to give it this 30s vibe that reminded of Frankenstein by James Whale, and that surely underscored the parodic intent. Moreover, he used its same lab equipment. The plot is easy but super funny. Friedrich Frankenstein is the grandson of Victor von Frankenstein. He's a doctor and a teacher from New York who changed his name in Frankenstein because he felt ashamed about his grandfather's scientific theories. In his classes, he shows his disagreement with his grandfather's studies about the possibility of reanimating the dead, and he calls him a mad scientist, since one day he's told that his grandfather left him a castle in Transylvania, and he decides to leave. In the castle live some peculiar characters. There's Igor, a hunchback, bug-eyed servant, Inga, a young assistant, and also Frau Blücher, a mysterious housekeeper and Frankenstein's lover. Anytime someone names her, there are frightened horses nighting. And the director explained that the idea came to his mind because English people used to think the translation of the German Blücher to be Heidglue, the one you get from horses slaughter. The housekeeper shows Friedrich his grandfather's notes, and he decides to try and create his own creature by stealing the corpse of a recently executed criminal and the brain of a famous historian from a lab. But Igor happens to steal the wrong brain, labeled abnormal, and the monster, when alive, shows to have homicidal tendencies. Blücher sets the monster free, confessing Friedrich that the monsters love violin music and that she had a romantic relationship with his grandfather. Like the original narration, the creator meets a blind man who believes he is mute, and this situation creates several comic scenes. Finally, Friedrich manages to bring him back home and convinces him of his goodness. Later, they arrange a tip-top exhibition for an audience of skeptical scientists. But the monster is scared of the fire that blazes underneath the stage, and he runs away. Suddenly, he gets arrested, and when he breaks, he kidnaps Elizabeth, Friedrich's fiancée, who just arrived in Transylvania. While in the original story Elizabeth gets murdered by the creator, in the parody the woman doesn't look to mind it, and they fall in love. Hearing Frankenstein's music, the monster goes back to the castle, and Friedrich decides to give him part of his brain, so that he will be sophisticated and educated. There's an happy ending celebrating the love between the monster and Elizabeth, and also between Friedrich and Inga.